her today. She's beginning this weekend, so flew out today. So anyway, I welcome everyone who's here. I want to go around and ask everybody to introduce themselves and where they live, what ward, and we'll start over here, if you could.
I'm L'Oreal Jones. Don't know which ward, but I live out Fair Park in Oak Ward.
Okay.
Brooke Butler, I'm with Anthem State Alliance. I live in Hillcrest.
All right, ask everyone to speak up, please.
Yeah.
Besides the recording needing to hear you, we need to hear you too.
All right, how's that? Okay.
Perfect.
George Wise, I'm chair of the executive committee of the Sierra Club, and I live on Louisiana Street in Ward 1.
Marge Jernigan, I live in Ward 5.
Jan Baker, Ward 5.
Celia Bernheimer, Ward 6, and mostly involved with Pax Christi.
Checo Tejas, Ward, oh no, I'm in North Little Rock, but I do, my church is in Ward 7.
Mary Henthorne, Ward 4.
Norman Hodges, Ward 3. All right. Kathy had an interview with Kathy yesterday morning. And so we're going to begin with that today. This is talking about the data centers and maybe a couple of other things. But I think you'll find it very interesting. So let's begin the program.
Thank you. Okay, let me do, well, that'll do. Good morning. Both of us had conflicts in our schedules, so we are bringing this to the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods participants in the meeting of August the 8th, 2026 by Modern Technology. I am Kathy Wells. I'm president of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. We're here with Director Kathy Webb, and the topic is the city data center regulation, the recent moratorium, and other proposals packed in with it. The directors blocked 4-4. It was not therefore successful. And my question is the what next? The other features in this proposal we are very pleased to see reflect topics we have been discussing in our coalition meetings recently, such as public hearings, such as putting up a city website with all information, such as getting recommendations from the Sustainability Commission, such as having the planning department do some research and proposals to strengthen the existing data center ordinance, such as studying ratepayer cost protections. And another thing that we have been looking at, I think as few others have been, is the full life cycle of the center, the 30-year cycle, the clean energy issues, the renewable possibility alternatives to just putting up another energy power plant with fossil fuel. It's not one single fix, as a recent scholarly article told us. It's energy efficiency, it's improved cooling, it's clean energy procurement, and it's beyond annual averages. So, Director Webb, this was your proposal. What comes next?
And I think it was a solid proposal. And I want, first of all, want to touch on a couple of things that you said as we talk about what comes next. Because a lot of people have asked me what comes next. People were disappointed, but there is a next. And as you and I talked on the phone earlier this week, I think while this is very disappointing, the next can be very strong as well. So I don't want anybody to lose hope or lose faith. One of the things that you just mentioned about recommendations from the Sustainability Commission. As you know, or may know, I'm the liaison from the board to the Sustainability Commission.
Good to know.
And Wes Pruitt, who is the past chair of the Sustainability Commission, he I have been talking months and months and months, way before it became really as much public debate as there is now. Wes and I have been asking questions for months and months and months and months. And the Sustainability Commission has an ad hoc data center committee, which has been meeting and which submitted a number of questions, and some of the recommendations that they sent were things that we included in the moratorium ordinance. And they also sent some suggestions for regulations, which I'm trying to sort through all of that, which I hope we can add to a second regulations ordinance. So that is what I wanted to tell you about the sustainability piece of it. And the planning department, I have met with the planning department, but there will be many more meetings with the planning department. We have, besides Brett Jordan, we have Mark and Hannah. I don't know if you know Mark and Hannah, but they have been looking at this for longer than many of us have. And they've been looking at issues across the country. They've been looking at best practices. They've been looking at other ordinances. They've referred me to other ordinances, and other websites. You mentioned website. I don't know if you've looked at the Loudoun County, Virginia website, but they have a very good website that has a lot of the things that we talked about in the moratorium.
They have one of each, and you want to put up one of each. Document and record.
Oh, yes, documents and records, like
There we go.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so if you look at the Loudoun County, I think you would agree, or I hope you would agree, that it is incredibly thorough with what they have on their website, Loudoun County, Virginia.
How can we bring this out into a more public understanding? That's where the public hearing issue comes in for folks like us, who are also researching it and want to hear more about what's behind just an ordinance that we think needs strengthening in the current data ordinance,
Well,
and so forth.
one of the things
How can we get in on the conversation?
One of the things that I would like people to do for right at this particular second, and people have been, is send me, and you have sent it to the board, some things to the board about what we can do to strengthen the current ordinance. So right now, I'm asking people to send me those suggestions. But I also want to go back to the ordinance that we did pass, which I don't think many people have probably gone down line item by line item.
We have.
Oh, good. And because one of the things that we are planning on doing, as you know, at some 4 o'clock agenda meetings, we have policy discussions. And so one of the planned things that we're gonna do is have folks from the planning come and go down item by item what this says and what is in our current body of ordinances that relates to this, and that also addresses some of the questions, like I took George Wise's 50 questions from the Sierra Club. And when I met with Brad, Hannah, and Mark, and we went through some of that. So we're gonna go through this. I've been talking to the city attorney, and we've been talking about and to planning. So we've been talking about some of the things that we lack, that we do need to strengthen. And I've been getting input from others, and I also took some, and so let me tell you what I have as a note, for some of the things that we need to strengthen: water, electric supply, noise, wetlands, wastewater, heat, decommissioning.
Yeah, a big missing piece.
I think decommissioning is very important, and it's not gonna stay missing. And one of the things that you have talked about is the emergency preparedness. I've talked to somebody, and so the answer to some of these things is I don't know. I don't know if we have enough right now, because I do know that the airport has the most sophisticated emergency preparedness, probably in the state. But is what they have close enough or sufficient? Would that be enough to cover two things? So, like a lot of the things that we talked about the other night, we don't have enough answers to these questions. So those are kind of my main things to look at. Plus, something that one of the residents talked about the other night when they talked about potential damage to Fraser Pike. And
Are we not resting on Google's assurances that all will be a cost to them, so they're gonna plunk a chunk of money into the,
No, ma'am.
Public Works Department to pay pressure pipe and make it 6 lanes or whatever?
we're not gonna rest on that, because I want us to talk about potential damage, road impact, and possibly, I mean, I've looked at this, draft ordinance as well that has a more detailed section on, traffic impact, hours, things like that. So I would say that that is another missing piece of it. An additional piece that I want to talk about, and this is not only this is not specific to this issue, I think it's an in general piece. I think our planning department does not have as much enforcement power as I would like to see them have in certain circumstances. And so we need to talk about more enforcement. And this is, Kathy, this is what I'm looking
Don't
at.
put work in the moment time.
And I mean, and I will say this, when we originally drafted the moratorium, it had some more pieces in there. I felt like we had a better chance of passing it if we focused on the moratorium and took out some of the other pieces. So there'll probably be some separate things coming down the pike. As you know, things keep changing. There's a lot. I'm getting lots of articles every day from different people, trying to make sure that what we have is adaptable as things keep changing, as we get more information, but that we are protected, and we're doing the best practices. So a lot of people at the city are looking at things, and I think, if sometimes we don't give our planning department enough credit, because they are, in my opinion, studying, aware that we need to do more, and ready and willing to help us do more.
And this is simply not told to the public, so we haven't been in the loop as you have been, and that's understandable in one way, but it also brings up the repeated question of having the planning department open a revision file for the data ordinance, so that the public may submit their proposals and have them in public somewhere. That goes back to the website. Is there not a way for that to be done so that we can feel like we're being heard, and so that we might be seeing some of the things that you are thinking a good policy, let's call it the emergency preparedness material, before it comes to tonight we are putting in the ordinance on the agenda for adoption next week.
And I think one of the things that we can do is slow down a little bit, like not put an ordinance on the agenda that we're gonna deal with the following week.
So this topic, it sounds like a good plan to do your 3 readings at 3 meetings over a 6 weeks period. Yes.
And I agree with that. And so I think that, I mean, and the reality is, that's why I thought a moratorium was a good idea. I think, there's some people who want us to get something done tomorrow. And then I think in this case, taking our time doing it right, if you look at some of the stuff on Loudoun County, and of course they've had a lot more time than we have, but they have a plan 1 or a phase 1, they have phase 2, they have a 2-year plan. So I think you're right in 3 successive meetings, and there's so much information that comes. I try to keep people up to date, but I can't even keep people up to date with everything.
That's why we need to bring technology into it. Put it on the website where anybody can see it, not call you up at midnight. How about that?
People do call me at midnight.
I know, but we can cut it down.
Can you get them to also then not call at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Just say website, maybe that should be your answering machine when you're off duty, is check the website.
Well, and both of those calls didn't have anything to do with this, so I think I'm gonna still get those calls.
Okay,
But that's okay.
that's your job. Yeah.
And that is what, that's where we are. We're working, and I'm gonna keep working and taking notes, and I can't answer the question now about opening
A revision file.
a revision file. It's my understanding, I think that you've talked to the mayor about that.
I have, and I put in a letter some weeks ago.
Okay.
And so this has been a persistent call of ours. We need to have a place to launch officially our great ideas. And our observations, as you said, there's this missing piece omitted from the present ordinance, and we would like to see that added. I will give you one example that in fact could be pursued immediately. Very simple. Ban firefighting foam that contains PFAS, forever chemicals. We've been reading not only about the dangers that exist, about a fire in a data center. I've sent you all that article.
Yeah.
And they used that type of foam rather than the clean alternative, call it chlorine foam. And it was entering the local stream that was the drain for wastewater out of this fire site, data center. Now, I've checked with Chief Dunn, we have no ban on PFAS chemicals now. It is very clear from national authorities, there is a safe alternative. And this, of course, would be a citywide and for all activities.
Yeah.
And we know the dangers. So, goodness gracious, why not zip in there and do that one soon?
Well, and that's a good point, because I think there are things that we can zip in and do soon. And if you'll send me, I know you said you'd send us.
Send it fresh.
Send it, but send it fresh. And let me take a look at that, and let me see if that's something that we can do. I think we're gonna keep doing things on and on. I don't think it's a one and done. And we said,
And that's the reassurance we're looking for.
and we said that, I said that very first night, when we passed the initial ordinance, I said, this is the first step. This is not one and done.
But
And
that's not quite the same. I'm going to work on this tomorrow with the planning department, and we are going to bring something to you rather quickly. Even though we're taking our time with it, we have now accumulated a collection of knowledge that tells us some things we want to do and some directions we want to go. So this is the kind of reassurance I'm very grateful to have from you today.
and you've got it. And I will tell you that if I went and did a video or whatever every day of telling people all the things I was working on every day, it would be good. And I wish I had the time to do that. I sometimes am so focused on all the work I'm doing, I don't have time to tell everybody
About
what I'm doing.
that is very understandable in public service, and I appreciate that. But let me point out, that circles back to opening a revision file, so that some of that gets diverted into this official channel. And we need a mechanism for a timeline. I will throw out 45 days. That seems to be common in many government agencies. It certainly is a respectable amount of time, particularly for our neighborhood groups that meet once a month, if they get the word no other way, but coming to their monthly meeting. And we respect the fact not everybody's got a computer and not everybody's on the internet. So how else do we bring in the constituents? 45 days will give them a good chance to be heard and to respond.
Speaking of the computer, you have your notes on a computer and I have mine in cursive. Like I said, I did the other night. That's not relevant or important, but anyway. Okay, I'm gonna talk to the mayor. I'm gonna keep following up on all of the things that I've told you.
The other paragraphs in the moratorium ordinance, that part has been, as they say, severed. That's a legal phrase.
Yep.
But all the others remain in play. Is that a fair statement?
That's good.
Great. Thank you so much. And let me once again bring you back to the decommissioning touches on it. But let me point out that one of the good points in a recent article that I got and shared with the board is important to view the life cycle and view the complexity of things. And that is also the hazard that we navigate and we respect that the city has to navigate, because I just came up with a real winner of a single item ban PFAS chemicals in firefighting foam. And it's good for all time and it's good for all people. But there's a lot more moving parts, and we have to respect in many ways, I think, that City Hall and the citizens of Little Rock are sadly lacking in this particular highly complex field. And we need to be going out and looking for professional, scholarly, and scientific information to assist us in dealing with something that is an order of magnitude bigger than we've ever seen.
It is an order of magnitude bigger than we've seen, and I made that comment.
You
almost
did.
Verbatim.
You did.
The other night, that it was. And I'm gonna agree with you and push back just a tiny bit too, because when I sat down, and met, excuse me, with Hannah and Mark and Brad, the knowledge that they had on this particular issue, it was way beyond the knowledge that I have. And, I was impressed. But I think all of us are continuing to go out. I printed out that article I see that you have, beneath your notes. I printed that out and have this.
Right.
When
Yale University is a pretty respectable source.
I agree, and I have that in, actually, it's right over there. And so, it's one of the biggest things we've ever had, and we've gotta do some things that we can do right now, and then we've gotta take our time and do the right things in a reasonable amount of time. So,
But have enough knowledge to make the judgment between the speedy and the immediate
Yeah.
beneficial PFAS chemical ban, once again, and the complexity that they talk about. And we respect that, but once again, I think we've got a silo effect going on, because all of this wealth of information that you had been sitting at the table and getting from Brad and the rest of the planning department is something that we lack. That's where putting it up on the website. We're looking at this, and it may be that it duplicates a lot of what we've got. Wouldn't be surprising. We are looking for factual information in all the professional places, but it's also very possible because my data center network has grown since the first of the year. I'm now sending out to about 55 people, and that's a bunch of researchers. Let us make you aware and benefit from our research. And how we do that is the question.
and we will get you an answer. I don't know that it'll be today or tomorrow, but we will get you an answer.
We'll look for that.
And you're gonna work with me on that, on the other issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this interview. It will be shown once again to the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods August the 8th meeting. We regret both of us had conflicts that did not permit us to attend in person. This is going to be part of a meeting that will be live streamed and will be recorded, and the link to that YouTube video, including this video, the entire meeting will be available through YouTube, through our Facebook page at CLRN.AR. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Have a good trip.
Well, I think that was a very informative discussion, shall we say. I do want to give everybody, if you don't have it, this is Kathy Webb's email address, so you can direct any questions or information that you wish, or information that you can share with her at kweb@littlerock.gov. So, if you want the information, you want to give us your city email?
Oh, yeah, it's, BJ. Wyrick, WYRICK @comcast.net.
Thanks. And I will want to welcome Director Wyrick to our meeting.
I missed a lot of that, so I have to go out and watch it.
Yeah, your name?
Hi, I'm Nanita Danielle Claiborne out of Ward 1.
All right, and, well, he's signing in, so I'll wait. But that's
Yes,
your name?
Scott Holiday.
Oh, welcome.
What was what else?
Ward
Ward-
1.
Ward 1.
Oh, yeah, I'm in Ward 1. I'm a member of the Downtown Neighborhood Association.
All right, thank you. The PFAS thing, and I'm just learning about a lot of this stuff, as I think many of us are. And the fact that the fire department, I'm assuming, would not use that foam if they were urged to use more readily available, safer foam.
Which
But-
is a lot more expensive.
Well, I'm sure that's always true. It's like every car I buy, it's much more expensive. And so, anyway, but as they were talking about, the Little Rock Fire Department has a Class A1 rating from the international group that evaluates the validity and the efficiency and the effectiveness of police and fire and other things around the world. So I think that's something to be thankful for, that the city has that type of rating. Kathy told me a couple of things that were interesting about these proposed and ongoing data centers. One, that on the one for the county, that apparently, according to what she told me, Nabholz is going to be the local hiring entity for that company, which means we have a local company in charge of the hiring. I'm assuming at much the lower levels, but nevertheless, I think that's something to maybe be hopeful about. So no such information available on the Google one at this point. I'm sure they have their roving group of people who do this. It's more than likely. So anything anybody want to, oh, I do want to welcome Director Wyrick here today. So
Thank you. There's not been much activity since we passed the ordinance, except for the moratorium that we did. So I think our next step is to look at the ordinance. I think Kathy alluded to that. Let's look at the ordinance and see what we need to improve. I think last time I was here, I talked about that we would approach the emissions, the heat, those kinds of things that we need to look at. So there's a lot that needs to be added to our existing ordinance. We passed it and we said this is not the end, we've got to add more stuff to it. So I think that's the next step, is to improve that so we have safeguards.
good, thanks. Yeah,
Can I make some comments about Sarah Club's position on the data center?
sure.
I really want to see in any sort of regulation a requirement that Google build their own power plant, renewable energy, to power it. It's possible for them to do it. They just broke ground in Mississippi County on what may end up being the largest solar battery complex in the U.S. It will provide 2.5 gigawatts of power and 2.7 gigawatts of battery storage. Just to give you an idea of the scale, a gigawatt of power can power 750,000 homes. So the data center, or the solar field that Google is proposing to power 1.5 million homes. They can do it. They can build their own solar facility to power. This one thing that's confusing is when they first made the announcement, they didn't provide any information about what the power was going to be used for. Now there's reports that they will use that in part to power the Google data center in West Memphis, which is a contradiction to what Energy has said. They're going to build in Jefferson County a solar and battery facility that they've told us will power the Google data center in West Memphis. So which is it, Energy?
And we're already paying for it.
And we're already paying for it. Yeah, your bill has $6 a month. If you're an Energy subscriber, $6 and some change. is going to build that solar facility in Jefferson County. One last comment, Sierra Club would also like to see a closed loop cooling system, and there are different types of closed loop cooling systems. The one that Avio says they're going to provide at the Pulaski County facility is sort of a halfway closed loop system, because they will use the water 3 or 4 or 5 times and then they'll have to discharge it. A true closed loop system would essentially be like having a big refrigerator in the Google data center, and we have to be careful about how it would be cool, because there can be PFAS that are used in some closed loop systems, not foam, but just forever chemicals in a closed loop system. So I have supplied Kathy Webb with Sierra Club's wishes on a closed loop system. There's just no reason that we should use clean drinking water to cool a data center. We may have the water, but it's crazy to use drinking water, some of the best in the country, to cool a data center.
Am I right in saying that the PFASs are part of the finish of the equipment, and eventually the PFASs leak from the equipment to the water?
Well, someone else might be able to explain this a little more clearly, but I understand it comes from degradation of the chips, the silicone chips. It may not be, I don't know if that's the forever chemical,
I don't believe that that's where it comes from, but at the same time, they're not very forthcoming with all of the things that they are putting in their machinery, so there could be something that is part of the mechanisms that does that. Usually it is with like cooling systems though, or.
It's the insulation on the cooling system, is where it comes from. But yeah, I mean, there are, if you're gonna discharge water, there are lubricants, there are anti-fungicides, there are 3 or 4 different kinds of chemicals that leach into any system where they have to discharge the water. And if they build a cooling tower to cool the water before it's discharged to a wastewater plant, those cooling towers develop salt that blows off into the wind. So it's unclear. I've seen different plans for Google, and some of them it looks like they will have a cooling tower, but they're intending on just discharging whatever water cools the system to the Bush Creek wastewater plant. Kathy Wells has tried to get information about whether the Bush Creek wastewater plant can handle all the chemicals that will be discharged in that water, and I'm not sure that that's really understood. So those 2 points about what Sierra Club would like to see. There are other things I've given Kathy Webb that Sierra Club would like to see, but those 2 points, that any power plant to power the data center needs to be renewable energy. Because I went to, one more thing and then I'll shut up and let someone else talk. I went to the PSC hearing last week on their rate increase. They want a 6-something% rate increase, and their rate increase would be to provide more power. They're not being forthcoming about whether they have the capacity to provide the electricity that Google and Audio will need. I don't think they have the capacity to provide the power they need without additional power plants. And if you look at their portfolio of what they're going to spend the money on, it's almost exclusively, except for the West Memphis solar field in Jefferson County and upgrading nuclear one, it's all natural gas facilities, which will have a 30-year life. So they're trying to raise their rates to build fossil fuel polluting power plants that will have a 30-year life at a time when the planet is heating up. It's kind of disappointing. I was one of just 4 people that opposed their rate increase at the public hearing. Well, I expect a little bit of rate increase.
Yeah, thank you. You had a question? Somebody over here had a question. Oh,
I just wanted to thank Director Byron for voting yes for the moratorium.
Thank you, thank you.
And asked, we heard Director Webb talking about all the research that she's doing and all the information gathering that she's doing. She's the one that proposed the moratorium for 18 months. Are you, as a director, and the other 2 directors that voted for the moratorium, are you working with Director Webb in some capacity, or is she doing most of the research that she's doing in a vacuum? How are you all spreading that information around so that everybody on the board is as up to date as Kathy Webb is when you have a vote to increase the regulations in the future, so that we don't have to have you all say, when you signed the moratorium, we didn't know anything about what we were signing. How are you educating yourselves?
So, unlike Kathy, I get lots of emails, lots of information. I go down the rabbit hole and look for stuff myself. And I would like to have the benefit of what you all, the Sierra Club, sent to her, so I can help Kathy. Kathy has been spearheading this on her own. I don't know how much impact or how much work Kathy Pack has put into it, but I do feel like that Kathy has really been the strong soldier in this whole thing. And she's used to doing that. She's a hard worker. She's a digger, and you know, if she has to bring everybody else up to speed, you know, then that's additional workload. It's like she was talking about, you know, how she's overwhelmed with stuff. So I will work with Kathy on whatever I need to work with her on, because I'm committed to getting the most information and getting the best product out of this situation that we have. So I don't know about the other 2 directors that voted no. I've not spoken to them. And so we all need to work together on this. It doesn't need to be Kathy Webb as a silo, but she's sort of a warrior, and she's used to working that way. So I hope for us to collaborate more in the future than what we have in the past few weeks. I don't see any information coming from the city as a whole. The only information that we've had so far is the ordinance that was presented to us June 2nd that we voted for. So input from the city as far as regulations or information, we've not seen it. So I do believe that Kathy is the only one that's pushing this forward.
yes.
Let's see, oh gosh, if I can remember. I was gonna ask, if it's okay, I would like to ask George Wise a question.
Sure.
George, I apologize if you already said this, but does Avio have any plan for having their wastewater treated?
That's interesting. They did apply, Kathy, Wells, recently discovered, she is, really a great researcher. She recently discovered that in, 2014, they started talking to, what is it, not, the environmental quality, whatever it's called now.
Oh, Department of Environmental Quality?
Yeah, yeah. In 2024, about their, needs, for wastewater, and, they will have to get a permit, from, DEQ, or whatever it is, to build their own treatment plant, because the, treatment plant, the facilities that, treat rice will, are not adequate to handle the discharge. Now, they are maybe adequate to handle what they propose would be there initially, which would be flushing toilets and sinks and, whatever a normal, business, would have. That much of the, they say, Avio says that they think that, but they've had a lot of problems that, I forget how many, violations Kathy, Wells dug up for that wastewater treatment plant that, services Riceville now, but that facility is troublesome.
Okay. And then, let's see. I can't remember my other question, so I'll just save it till after the meeting.
And you know how to call me too.
Yes.
Yeah, anybody else have any questions, input?
Well, I just wanted to point something out. They're talking about looking to Loudoun County, Virginia, and the way that they're displaying records and documents and whatnot. And I think that that's a fine idea to look at what's happening in other communities where data centers already exist. However, I would caution to use Loudoun County as a good equivalent to the communities where our data centers are going. And also to know that in these communities, I'm sorry, why? I was getting there. So a lot of these neighborhoods in Loudoun County that abut data centers are now being bought out because they can't live in these homes anymore. And these are $1 million homes though. This would be like out in Chenal, if it was near Chenal. And so now the data centers there are buying up their homes for $4 million a piece. That's why I'm saying this is not a good equivalent. So please don't think about those as equivalent. They're buying up McMansions that have been there for maybe 20 years at most. They're not disrupting entire multi-generational communities.
So they built in that neighborhood to start?
Yeah, you can look, there's articles about it recently. There are 2 neighborhoods in Loudoun County, and they're, beautiful homes with swimming pools and all of that, and they're getting $4 million a piece for the data center to buy them up, demolish them up, and put up another data center.
Wow.
Well, and yeah, Loudoun County is the epicenter of data centers, I would think, because I remember I had a friend who lived out there 10 years ago, and he was showing me then, there was just one right after the other. And that was before there was any effort to stop noise pollution or any other type of pollution or damage to the air or what have you. So yeah, it's, I'm not surprised they ultimately had to do that, because there was simply, at that point, no knowledge and no regulation relative to them going up and what noise they would emit or anything like that. But they continue to build there. Now they build to better, quote unquote, standards. So, yeah, but yes.
So Sierra Club's position is you can't have environmental justice without racial justice, and frankly, I personally believe that we're looking at examples of environmental racism in Sweet Home and Wrightsville.
Well, where would you suggest, rather than Loudoun County, that we go for examples of
Maybe
well-written
Memphis?
ordinances?
Memphis?
I thought it'd be Pryor, Oklahoma, that's what the Chamber of Commerce recommended.
Well, probably because they're having a great time and love their data center and, you know, there's good PR around it. I would look to Memphis. It's nearby, and there are communities that have already shown impact, and the demographics in those communities parallel the communities that will be impacted here.
And the Oklahoma data center is a different one than what we're building now. This is more of a server farm than it is a hyperscale. Like this one processes information for generative AI, while the other one stores. It's basically like if you were saying
Cloud storage.
Yeah. There's a difference between let's say like a big rig truck versus a box truck, right? One's for storage, one is for hauling, you know, much more weight.
Well, it's unfortunate that that distinction wasn't made when Jay Checker was making the example of look at Pryor.
Well, I actually did bring it up afterwards that, you know, he said in the statement he read that Pryor, Oklahoma had this Google data center for 15 years. Well, there wasn't any AI 15 years ago. So it was cloud storage. And I did look it up afterwards. And apparently they have added some AI capacity at that site, which is, I guess, a really big campus. But I think it was what the mayor was talking about was probably primarily a cloud storage facility, which is way different. I mean, you know, not the same noise level or resource utilization, and more jobs.
We have small data centers in Little Rock next to the Dillard's headquarters is a data center. Drive by all the
They're
time.
enterprise data centers. They're just not hyperscale
It's
data
not
centers.
hyperscale.
It's a whole new entity.
Oh, I wanted to just mention there's an important meeting on Tuesday night at the Quorum Court to the only item on it's an agenda meeting for the Quorum Court. The only item that they'll be considering is Justice Blackwood's ordinance to regulate data center, hyperscale data centers, and they have to get enough votes at that meeting to get it on the agenda to be voted on, you know, up or down later in the month. So it's really, really important, and that's the only thing on the agenda. You don't have to sit through a bunch of other stuff, but also people can contact their JPs. You know, they don't have to go to the meeting if they contact their JPs, and that's really important. And so if I don't know if all neighborhood groups take positions on things, or you know, encourage their members to do grassroots lobbying, but it's a good time to share that information about here's who your JP is in our neighborhood, and please contact them if you're interested in this issue.
I'll be there. The Google data center and the Avio data center are 4.8 miles apart, so they affect us both.
Yeah, and Sweet Home is kind of sandwiched in between.
Yeah.
And part of Wrightsville, Wrightsville is pretty close too. And Wrightsville, you know, you look at it on the map, it's a little dot. If you go down there, it's stretched out along the highway. It's very north and south community that stretches out over several miles. So part of it is it's really in between also.
Was it yesterday's paper or this morning's where I saw the map of where some studies said this is where data centers could be built, and most of it was rural areas, rural counties, not Pulaski or Washington or Sebastian or wherever. But I thought that was an interesting sort of map when I saw it, that, oh, Except, I think
Fewer
Mississippi,
zoning ordinances.
yeah,
to
no
deal with.
zoning ordinances.
Yeah, no zoning ordinances, but also no wastewater treatment, probably, you know, and no water treatment. The other thing is, that's crazy to me is, you know, all the construction that's taking place on really prime farmland, like Mississippi County, you know.
17,000 acres for that.
Yeah,
solar field.
hopefully they'll build them high enough up that there can be agriculture underneath, but they probably won't, so.
I'm gonna share this with y'all. We had the vote on the data center Tuesday night. And, Wednesday, I met with the real estate agent who offered me $3.5 million for my farm in Saline County for a data center.
Wow.
And, they said, so I got it on the 5th, and they wanna answer by the 10th. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here, you know? I'm opposing data centers, working to make what we have be the best that it is, and then I get a proposal for $3.5 million for a data center.
Nine your vote.
Exactly
So-
what's
Nine your
happening.
vote.
So I found that just, that's when the moon and the stars get in alignment, you know, and you dump it on your,
How much
dump it
would
on
that
your desk.
farmland be worth as for, you know, to another buyer?
Well, it's a family farm, and, we've had it for 40-something years. And, we actually have it priced for more than that. It's over 300 acres with the house on it. But we raise cows on it. We're getting a little older, and so we're trying to reduce, you know, our property size. But I found that very ironic that I voted against data centers on Tuesday, and then I get an offer.
It's suspicious timing.
Yeah, so obviously, I'm not gonna support that, but that's Saline County, so you haven't heard anything about Saline County, you know, in regards to data centers, going in there. It has the beauty for data centers is it has a substation that's pretty close to it, but as far as mass quantities of water and internet, it doesn't have that. So they're looking for rural areas.
Oh, yeah, I don't think Saline River has enough water in it to,
Yeah,
to,
this is not close to Saline River, but anyway, I'm not accepting the offer, but I want to tell you that they're reaching out around us in different counties.
yes.
So we have regulations, it's really easy.
Yeah.
One of the problems we have in Arkansas is that we're too attractive to these big corporations because we have cheap land, inexpensive electricity, plenty of water, and cheap labor. So, there's just gonna be increased pressure to build more data centers. One of the things, and I don't know if Saratoga's gonna have success with it, we're gonna propose legislation in 2027 at the legislature to put restrictions on data centers. I don't expect it to have much success, but it'll be a way to keep educating people, educating legislators, because nobody wants them. That's the thing, is that you go to these hearings, and I tried to go to most of them. I couldn't go Tuesday because I was giving a talk on data centers to another group, but you go to these meetings and the people that show up oppose them. Nobody wants them.
I wonder how much, if there would be success in trying to get rid of the, tax breaks for data centers as like at least something that we could actually get passed. Because it just seems kind of ridiculous to, give them a tax
Well,
breaks.
Now, that bond issue from the 60s would be really hard to get rid of because it's been around for so long and it's used for a lot of businesses that we might like to see out of it. One of the things that we'll have in our legislation And something that Wendell has drafted in, I think it's in the, ordinance that will be considered Tuesday is, a ban on, giving hyperscale data centers, tax breaks. You can do it on a local level, but I don't think that fine.
And again, look to other places. Virginia is losing billions of dollars a year in tax breaks, and it is breaking their economy.
And I'm still trying to figure out what the city's giving up. It's hard to calculate what the city's giving up in that MOU. In terms of what they would gain if they hadn't given those tax breaks. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I'm trying to find someone that would tell me.
Well, the city's given up all the franchise fees.
But if they don't give those up, I mean, Google in the MOU is gonna provide a certain amount every year. So, how do those two compare?
It was only $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
That chunk change is nothing.
Think about they're paying $4 billion a house. They can afford it.
Contextualize, and Google really needs us more than we need them. They have 16 data centers in like planning mode right now in the US. 3 are in Arkansas. 3. So almost a quarter of the Google data centers that are planned right now are in Arkansas.
Where's the third one gonna be?
Conway. Where they are struggling with water right now as it is.
Conway is interesting because, all the city's done there is just rezone it so that it could potentially be a data center. It's not very far along, so. There's a good, webpage that people in, Faulkner County have, developed to keep up with, what's going on over there. So there could be a chance to oppose that one.
I think they're doing advocacy training there next Saturday on the UCA campus.
Yeah, we had some ladies come several meetings ago from Conway to sort of sit in and see what was percolating here, so they might use it there, I remember, so. Yeah, so, well, we may have a short meeting today, but is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up about this, or proposals, or recommendations, or suggestions for next month's meeting, or anything?
I've asked Director Wyrick, what do you suggest we should do?
Well, you're doing a lot right now. I know you're really studying and bringing forth the information. Kathy had mentioned to me a couple of times, Kathy Wells had mentioned to me a couple of times that we needed a website or a place to deposit information that, everybody could review. And so I'm gonna work with Kathy Webb on doing that. But I would suggest that you continue to provide the information that you have to the board of directors. You can send it to one email and it will be distributed to everybody on the board. So as you find things, as you have questions, I don't know that you get answers to the questions at this point because it's new to all of us. But that would be an idea was to send it to the board at littlerock.gov, and then our system will send it to all of us so that we have all the information that you all are finding. And then just continue to go to meetings and continue to talk about it. You've done a lot in raising the issue in our city. In January of this year, we didn't hear anything, and then all of a sudden we started getting intel from a lot of different sources. So you've done a lot with what you've already done. You've researched. I learn something new every time I come to a meeting. So we just need to continue. And I have a question. Why are you saying to look at Memphis? Cause I've looked at the Musk fiasco that's
Yes.
there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we don't wanna do.
Well, no, I'm just saying that the impacted communities in Memphis are multi-generational communities of color, and usually with less voice, less power in what's happening in the city. That parallels more what is happening in, or the communities that are near the Little Rock, Pulaski County data centers. Loudoun County, that's a rich suburb of DC where, you know, people live in McMansions and everything looks like Chanel. So you're not disrupting communities, you're leveling neighborhoods, which is a different thing. And I don't think that it's a good parallel, because and they're paying them $4 million a piece for their homes. What's happening in Memphis couldn't be like that because there's not a lot of home ownership also. So what happens to the people who live there who are maybe in, you know, a rental situation in Section 8 housing? You know, it's a lot easier for a $4 million buyout of a home than for someone to be trapped in a situation where they're just gonna have to live in a poisonous environment.
One of my takeaways from watching that video was the fact that the city didn't have the power sources for the data center. And so Musk went out ahead of them and started doing solar farms and then started doing these gas turbine engines. And so that's a concern to me if we don't have the power source. And I think he did it without permits, that's what I understand. So if we don't have the resources, you know, the power resources, then somehow we've got to not have that happen in Little Rock. That concerns me.
Well, and then he just moved it to Mississippi, to South Haven, Mississippi, another, you know, not terribly prosperous community, and they are struggling, and this, you know, generational lands are being, they're wanting to sell. I mean, they want to sell, but they can't live there anymore.
Yeah.
But they can't sell it to anybody except, you know, data center developers, or you know, to build more of these gas turbines. So it's kind of ironic that the thing that's driving off all the people is the only thing that will be able to replace any of their homes that is happening.
Yeah,
That's a point that Wendell has made about Riceville, is that if that, you know, 700 acres, 1 gigawatt data center gets built, it's gonna destroy the voice, destroy the shape, destroy everything about the community of Riceville, and those people may not be able to sell their houses, as modest as they are right now.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing in Loudoun County, they couldn't sell their homes, these multi-million-dollar homes, because nobody wanted to live there because it was such a miserable experience. But the data centers could buy them up for $4 million apiece.
You know how they forced the data company to buy the houses? Is that something we could use here, or is it, would it not relate because they are?
I don't think it's a good equivalency.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a good tactic to try.
Probably the people whose homes they were buying had the clout to make something happen.
These were people with, you know, big friends.
I was at the Wrightsville protest, and one of the things that made us all sad was that so few people from Wrightsville were there protesting.
I would say 2 things about that though, because I was there too. One is that they'd already had 2 things that week. You know, including a quorum court meeting and some other meeting. And then also they had a pancake breakfast at, I think, you know, right down the street that people were going to. So, you know, if you've already been to 2 data center things in that week, you probably aren't gonna feel like you need to go to another.
Riceville is also considering annexing that property.
Oh,
And I think that's on, an agenda at their next city board meeting, so they could annex it and regulate it
and get some revenue.
and get some revenue.
That's good. They need to.
All right, anybody have other questions, anything we want to discuss, or? Well, I guess if not, we'll say thank you for being here. This was the August 8th meeting of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. Thank you for being here.
The recording will be available on Facebook and then also on YouTube.
Thank you.